Hey, Sarva, can you run out and tell Edward to start? I want him to get heels up to it. I'd like to hear when it comes to your today.
Okay, we are live.
Oh, I never got the full
Okay. Bhagavad Gita 2:12.
2:12. Oh, that's a good
Measure?
Yes.
Is this window open?
Is this window open? Yeah, if you'd like to open it, yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
I don't know if it is open. Oh, no, it's not.
Okay, we're live.
Okay, everybody. There's a lot more people that are. Whoa! Woo! Roger, I'm going to settle down here.
Oh, there.
Better blow up another one there, Francisco. Okay, if we can get everybody in their seats. Where's
Yeah. I just want to keep an eye on this.
much better. There's so many more people, I don't know where they all are. But anyway, I don't want to delay. Where's Margarita? Is that her name?
Yeah, she's helping with the
Anyhow, thank all of you. I'm thanking all of you for being on time. You are the core group here who always seems, you guys are always actually quite early, which is very nice. Thank you, very nice. Wow, lots of flowers today.
Beautiful flower.
Our temples are very, 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 what's the word? Proper in terms of punctual. Being on time. If you go to our temples, you can literally set your watch when the doors of the temple open for the deities and when they close. They are that punctual. And the idea is that, you know,
we don't make God waiting.
yeah, we don't want to make God wait for us. We should always be ready to serve Him. So, anyhow, thank all of you for being here on time. Unfortunately, the people who need this lecture aren't here to hear it. But anyhow, so tonight I have a very special guest friend of mine here. Bhojadeva has actually been in our movement since 1972. He's been a real warrior for Krishna. Has served predominantly in Southern California, although he has also served in several places around the world. He's one of the really unsung heroes in our movement. There's a lot of people you'll hear about in our movement that are very high positions, and they get all the photo shots, and they get all the accolades and everything. But there's a lot of people who really make our movement move and are keeping the movement. You know, the guys in the kitchen, he's also one of the kind of like backup help kitchen cooks for the major feasts in Los Angeles. I've been told you are called into duty on several occasions when they need somebody to help cook. Bhojadeva also has an extraordinary history in terms of his own very, very committed to Krishna consciousness. And I understand he was in someplace, what am I thinking of? Nepal, where some countries there's a lot of people who don't understand. Actually, a lot of people in America don't understand the devotees, but in other countries sometimes they go about things in very nasty ways. And one of our temples was subjected to a very violent attack with explosions, and I understand Bhojadeva was basically put himself in the way of harm and ended up getting very seriously hurt as a result of that in order to protect the devotees. So I have tremendous respect for that. And besides that, he's also a tremendous devotee of Krishna. So we're really happy that he came. Whoops, be careful there. Uh-oh. Yeah, I changed the stand because it has a tendency to fall over. If you could pull that up a little higher. So anyhow, he lives in Los Angeles now, and we're really happy that he's here, and we're hoping maybe he'll come back in the future for some other programs. And he's going to do the talk tonight, of course, is all about the appearance of Lord Krishna, which is not really, you can think of it as a birthday party, but we tend to avoid the word birth, because unlike us where we appear and then we get thrown in the karma and then we get another birth and we're sort of flopping around in the material world trying to figure our way out of it. Krishna is not subjected to any of that. He appears at his own goodwill when he wants to, for whatever reasons he may have, and so we try to stay away from the word birthday, but so we call it Disappearance Day.
Appearance Day.
So that's what we're going to do tonight. We're going to have a nice discussion about Krishna's Appearance Day, and when I invite guest speakers, I always just sort of let them do it any way they want. So with no more delay, he's going to lead the Kirtan for us, and we're going to get the. Oh, I forgot to record all that. Let me get this going. I'm sorry. I should do. Okay, once again, it's August 16th. Bhojadeva's here, and we're going to do a wonderful program on Krishna's Appearance Day. Take it away, Bhojadeva.
Thank you very much for your kind and generous introduction. I'm very happy to be here. And, Krishna consciousness, our Guru, Srila Prabhupada, said every day should be a celebration, but some days are even more celebratory. So this is a very nice day to commemorate the appearance
Hey,
of the Lord.
I can.
So we're going to dedicate this initial kirtan for Hari's father recently moved on in his journey, and yesterday. So the first verse that we're talking about described how actually the soul's eternal. We don't have to do anything to become eternal. We're already eternal. But so we'll engage in this kirtan, which is actually the eternal activity of the soul, which is asking for service and engaging in glorifying the Lord. And I'll speak the pranams to our spiritual master and to the 5 truths of Panchatattva that appeared in this age. And we'll chant, I think, a very wisdom Mahamantra. Maham Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Samanati Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Prasthaya Nishitani Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, That's an
And the right instrument.
All right.
I put it turned on for Krishna's birthday.
Enthusiastic. We like that enthusiasm.
This is fun. Let's do more.
We will.
Krishna Baba all day long.
There you go.
That was dedicated to your dad, Harry.
Thank you very much.
He's very special.
Right. Okay.
This is a tune from Vrindavan, actually. Vrindavan, you may know, is the place where Krishna appeared on this earth. And it's understood that Vrindavan, India, which is about 90 miles south of Delhi, is actually the replica on the spiritual platform of the spiritual world. Actually, you may be familiar with, according to the VEDIC system of time calculation, that we've entered a yuga called Kali Yuga that started about 5,000 years ago. Previous to that yuga was the Dwapara Yuga, the Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, which Krishna appeared, which everything at that time was completely different. There was a whole different time scale, there was a whole different vibration on the planet. So when Krishna appeared, it was a very different time. People would come, demigods would come from other planets. You know, there's such a big controversy about is there life on other planets or the UFOs. In the Vedas, it's described that there's many higher planets, there's lower planets, there's being on all different planets. And the bodies of those people are dependent on the body of the atmosphere of the planet. Just like on our planet, we can have fish that live by the thermal vents, and it's very sulfuric, high temperature that normal fish cannot live in. Some people can live in very remote places, and different animals can live in different conditions. So different bodies adjust to the condition of the planet. So just because there's not the conditions of different planets, the conditions are different, so the bodies are also different. Instead of the moon planet, that there's a lot of, the main element is ether. So the beings on the moon are made of etheric bodies. So Krishna is a whole different category because his body is completely spiritual. Like it says in the Bible, we were made in the image of God. So God has a form, and therefore we also have a form. So Krishna's form is described as Satchidananda Vigraha. It's made of eternity, knowledge, and bliss. So we get our information that actually in the Krishna consciousness movement is a very ancient interplanetary movement, actually, with demigods and different planets. It's been going on for eternity, that understanding that there's a supreme personality of Godhead who has many manifestations. So it said in the Brahma Samhita, Lord Brahma is actually considered to be the secondary creator of this universe. And our line, our spiritual lineage, is the Brahma Madhava Gaudiya Sampradaya. So Lord Brahma, there's 4 Vaishnava Sampradayas. One is from Lord Shiva, one is from the 4 Kumaras, one is from Lakshmi, and one is from Lord Brahma. So Lord Brahma, we understand from the Vedic literatures, and these literatures are actually not man-made literatures. They're actually divinely revealed. Just like in every scripture, there's people that are, it's very rare that one that can actually communicate directly with God, but it does happen. And God is within the heart, so people can communicate directly from God within the heart, and God reveals himself in many ways. And you look at all the scriptures, and they're all revealed to different saints. In Judaism, it was Moses, to Jesus, Buddha. Knowledge is revealed within the heart, and that is not ordinary knowledge. That's beyond, because it's divinely revealed, it's not limited to the perception of the 4 senses, which have the 5 senses rather, that have the limitations. I think everyone knows that of the electromagnetic spectrum, our senses as human beings only perceives a very small fraction of that whole electromagnetic spectrum. We don't hear things that dogs hear. We can't see X-rays. We don't see gravity, but we know it exists by its symptoms. So we also know the soul exists and the symptom of the soul is consciousness. So that consciousness is on all different levels, and there's different levels of human consciousness which define the different species of human life. So the species of human life are defined actually, and even in the higher planets, lower planets, there's 400,000 species of human life. But it's not determined by the body being black or white or big or tall or short or fat. But it's actually it's determined by the level of consciousness. It determines the level of human stature. So it is said in the Vedic literatures that our human life actually begins when we begin to inquire who we are and where we came from. Actually, this is in science. This is any thoughtful person. They'll think, well, who am I and what am I supposed to do? Where did I come from? Am I just the product of my parents? They gave me the body, but I'm an individual person. What is my relationship to God? What is my relationship to nature? What is my relationship to everyone in this world? So this is actually the first step in spiritual life, is to realize that to question these things: who am I and what am I meant to do? Animals don't have this propensity. They just simply eat, sleep, mate, and defend. Some humans also just simply eat, sleep, mate, and defend. There's no inquiry about beyond just basic necessities of life. So this is called in Sanskrit a tattva brahma jignasya, of understanding who am I and what am I meant to do, and what is my relationship with everything and everyone. So this is also called sambandha jnana, which means what is my relationship to God, nature, and everyone else in this world. So in ignorance, we generally think I am this body, and that whatever is good for my body and mind is what I should be doing, without really thinking of our eternal nature. Our eternal nature, whatever happens with this body, will have some happiness and some distress. It's like it's kind of cynical, but I can say I'm a great astrologer. I can predict everyone's future in this room and say you'll have some happiness and some distress.
That's funny.
So that's and astrology is interesting science, and it gives timing. Sometimes it's very useful to find out planets which are actually just the instruments of our own karma, or will manifest certain things at certain times. But generally, when people ask astrologers questions, they'll say, well, what about my money and love life? I mean, predominantly people, that's the main things when people ask. They say, well, am I going to make more money, and I'm going to find somebody to love, or how's this relationship going, and what about my job? And so this is all very, this is all mundane stuff that has to be dealt with, and it's not unimportant, but it's not the most important. What is the most important is the nature of our soul. The progress that we make spiritually is the progress that we take with us. Whatever consciousness we develop, that eternally goes into our spiritual bank account, because when we depart this body, that goes with us. All of our developments, life is like a big classroom. We keep taking the class over and over until we pass. And passing means we learn how to love unconditionally. Who is the source of love, and how to express that love, and how to receive love, how to give love. This is what spiritual consciousness is all about. Otherwise, again, it's the animals living and dying with their families and their jobs and their shelter and all. Human life is not meant to be naked and afraid, as we see on TV sometimes. It's like, this is going backwards. We're not trying to live like animals. We're trying to develop our consciousness and solve the problems of life. And what are the problems of life? Problems of life is that no matter how good we have it, everything is going to change. So you could get the best job, the best mate, the best family, the best nation. You can get all set, and then the clock ticks, and it's time to move on. We're forced out. So it's very uncomfortable feeling, because it's very unnatural for the soul to have to go through all these temporary changes, because we're eternal by nature. So the first verse that we have, where is our verse minister?
There's
Laura.
You need a verse.
We need the wordsmith.
I can't think of places of words.
Keep working.
Yogis can.
I haven't mastered that skill.
No, we need a verse from you. He's asking
Okay,
for a
what are we
verse.
doing?
Well, just the first verse that we're looking at.
2:12, right?
Yeah.
Boom, there it is.
Okay, so the English.
Let's get this out of the way.
So you may be familiar that the Bhagavad Gita means the song of the divine, the song of God, was spoken on the battlefield of Kurukshetra to Arjuna 5,000 years ago. So Arjuna he's a student. He's actually Krishna's friend. And he's asking questions. He's faced with this huge task. This unavoidable war has been set up. So much diplomacy failed to stop the war on both sides. And there's people tried to make concessions, but the other side was bound and determined to fight. They wanted a kingdom which didn't rightly belong to them, which is like us in this world. We want this kingdom, but it doesn't belong to us. This world was here before we came. It'll be here while we're here. It's bigger after us. This is not the place where we're meant to live forever and rule. So this party, the opposing party, the Kauravas, they brought on this fight. So Arjuna, he went, and Krishna was his advisor, and Krishna actually took the position of his chariot driver, because Arjuna was his great friend and devotee. So he brought up Arjuna, said, let me see who came to fight on the battlefield. So he came and he saw relatives on both sides, and he said, well, First he said, if these people want to fight, I'd just rather walk away. I don't care about the kingdom. We're just going to incur sin to kill people, just to fight over some material thing. I don't want any part of it. And Krishna explained, then I gave the opportunity to Krishna explain the whole nature of what are priorities in life, which is ultimately to understand what God wants and act in harmony with that. You can see later in the Gita. But this gave Krishna a great opportunity to educate everyone to what is the actual nature of the soul. So in the beginning, he explains that the soul is eternal. That is, we are all eternal. That there was never a time when Krishna is telling Arjuna, there was never a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor all these kings. Nor in the future shall any of us ever cease to be. So we don't have to do anything to become eternal. And in different religious philosophies, they also think you're eternal, but they may think you're going to be eternally in heaven or eternally in hell. But you're still eternal. So but we don't have to do it. All we have to do is make the choice of where we want to be. And throughout the Gita, Krishna gives so many instructions. But towards the end, he says, I've given you all my advice, now it's up to you to choose what you want to do. Because free will is something that the living entity always has. Because God cannot force us to love him, otherwise there'd be no meaning to love. You can't. It has to be voluntarily given, it has to be from the heart. But that is actually our constitutional position, to feel eternal loving exchange with the Supreme Lord. So we can understand, so where is God? That's the question. Who is God and where is he? So this is, approached by different philosophies and different religions. But Krishna explains many times within the Gita that he's dwelling within the heart. We go to 10, 11. Go to the Gita.
Did you want to chant it?
Yeah, sure.
I'm doing it myself. What do you want to go to?
10, 11, yeah. Then we'll get to Brahma Samhita. The verse I want to chant is actually in Brahma Samhita. I'm just kind of doing the background.
Okay, that's great. There you go. This is succeed verse.
Yeah. So Krishna says, to show them, meaning us, special mercy, I dwelling in their hearts, destroy with a shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. So God explains that he expands everywhere, he's within every atom, but he's within every heart. And he sits side by side with each individual soul as they go through the journey of life after life, and as the witness, as the protector, as the guide, as the reminder. He says, dwelling in the heart, I am the source of remembrance, forgetfulness, and knowledge. So it's kind of like, sometimes we think it's intuition, some people call it different things, but when you get inspiration, that's actually coming from the Lord's expansion within the heart. It's called the super soul. So he gives us that knowledge. When we actually want to turn towards that source of all knowledge within, then that path opens up. But we have to, because we have free will, we have to voluntarily turn that way. So it's described, the analogy is given, it's like there's two birds sitting on the branch of a tree. One is busily eating the fruit of the tree, and the other one is observing. So the bird eating the fruit on the tree is like the individual soul in the world, grasping for all the things in the external world, for position and power and name and fame and all these things, trying to find some satisfaction in some temporary situation. And the Lord is with it, the other bird simply watching. And he's giving facility. If a person really wants something and he tries hard enough and he does the austerity, he'll get that thing. It may take lifetimes, it may take 5 minutes, it just depends on what is our quality of work. Because we get what we desire and what we deserve. So we may get something, but if it's at the expense of someone else, then there'll be a price to pay for that. So there was one book that came out, I guess it was a few years ago, called the Power of Attraction. What's it called?
Yeah.
Law of attraction.
Law of Attraction, right. Okay. So there was some semblance of truth in that. You could observe some things that are true because, again, God gives free will. If you desire something, you really want it, you're willing to work for it, you want to manifest that can happen. But if it's separate from God and if it's selfish and it's only to advance your own temporary position in this world, it's not really of much value. So the law of attraction, so there's some basis, there's some truth in there, but it comes with strings. Because if it's a selfish desire, you'll get a selfish result. And everyone is doing that. Everyone has their own selfish desire. It's like so many circles with a dot in the middle. Everyone is their own little universe, and they're all running into each other and conflicting and envious and jealous and exploiting. So our world is kind of filled with that mentality, and that's why we've had wars and so many fights, so many misunderstandings, so much strife, so many divorces. So everyone's on their own path, just trying to satisfy this one body and mind, not realizing that that's just this body and mind is just a manifestation of our past actions and desires. So, but we're meant to be actually attracted. Krishna himself, his name means the all attractive. And you can do an analysis of what is attractive. We're generally people attracted to wealth, to beauty, to knowledge, to fame, to strength, renunciation. So God has all those things in full. If we have a little bit of those, we become attracted to others, to other people, or if we see people that have that, we may become attracted to them because of their beauty or their knowledge or their wealth or whatever. We find we're drawn. But our constitutional position is to actually engage with the Supreme Lord because he has all those qualities. And because we're a sample, we're a spark of him, we have those qualities in a small degree. And those qualities come out more and more when actually they're manifested in the mood of love and service. So all that is actually dormant within our own heart. And all the knowledge that we're talking about, actually everyone of us knows these things. It's just like being reminded that God will give you, by his mercy, if you want it, all the knowledge you need in your situation to move forward. And he says, if you just try and work in this way, being conscious of me, that at the time of death, surely you'll come to me. Because each day we're creating our next body. So by our activities and our desires now, we're actually building our next body. We're not going to be in this body forever. I think maybe you've seen that picture of the changing body exhibits where there's the baby, then the 5-year-old, and the 10-year-old, and the
It's right there.
teenager. Ah, yeah. Where are we?
It's on the top of the shelf.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So we're moving through that. So we are not that, we're conscious. We were there when we were 5, but that body's gone. We were there when we were teens, that body's gone. This body will also be gone, but we'll always be there somewhere. And according to the modes of nature and according to our activities in this life, we're building our next body. So we can build, some people say, I really would like to be a cat in the next life because cats are they have such an easy life, they sleep all the time. That's what you want, you can be that. But you're going to have to die and get chased by dogs. So there's, the idea is that by nature, our soul, we have a spiritual body actually. Our spiritual essence is covered by matter. We were covered by a material body made of earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, false ego. So that's covering our soul now. But actually, we're in this situation because at one point we desired that. We wanted to have a separate experience. We wanted to say, okay, God, that's fine, but I want to be the center and see what that's all about. So God being kind says, yes, go ahead. This is the material world, have fun. I mean, it's not that clear, but it's kind of like, if you want this experience, then you can have it. But because it's not you, it's going to be everything, it's going to be temporary. So that's our dilemma. We all feel like we want eternal happiness. We all want to live forever. We don't plan that we're going to die so much unless we're told we're going to die. But it's going to happen. So what is the best thing to do with this life? Is to become spiritually happy and realize our eternal nature. So we can build our spirit, if we want to perform and understand who we are in relation to God, the Sambandha Gyan, that our duty is to serve, which we do anyway. We're built to serve. We serve our parents, we serve our community, we serve our bodies, we serve our kids, we serve our professors. We're in relationships all the time. And we do it with a view of getting the best result. So the ultimate relationship is the relationship with the Supreme, and the result will be that we'll actually have the capacity to experience unlimited love, unlimited knowledge, unlimited happiness, and get a body after this life that has no more temporary situations. It's actually Satchidananda. So Krishna is actually the cause of all causes, which is the theme of this talk. As I mentioned before, that we take our information from Lord Brahma, and in the Vedic literature is described that there's 3 qualitative incarnations of Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, and Lord Vishnu for the running and maintenance of this material world. So Lord Brahma actually came into this world, and he's kind of like a symbol of our own situation, because he was born into darkness, and it's described he was born into on the lotus flower that was stemmed from the navel of Lord Vishnu. In other words, he was supported by God, but he was born into complete darkness. So he thought, well, what to do? And like us, as we're questioning our existence, we're thinking, well, what am I supposed to do? I'm in this world of strife and darkness and violence and chaos. And even if, I go out to the jungle and sit peacefully, there's snakes and there's bugs and there's no end to it. So how do I get out of this darkness? How do I actually achieve the goal of life? So Brahma heard these words called tapa, which means do penance, do meditation. So he went into a deep meditation. And after 1 year of meditation means that in all disciplines, meditation means you control your mind, you control your senses. That you want to get that inspiration or that wisdom coming from within, so you have to calm down the external manic life that we all experience from time to time. So Lord Brahma went into meditation for 100 years, and then he was given a vision of the spiritual world. And so he saw Krishna there, he saw this beautiful place that was beyond anything. It was a realm that was filled with the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his different devotees and his expansions. So it is said that God, just like Lord Brahma said, that just like you can take one candle and light another candle, and both those candles, even though there was one original candle, both those candles will have the identical properties. So Vishnu expands in that way, that expands in various incarnations, in various yugas, in various times, as Lord Ram, Lord Nrsimhadev. So those are called Vishnu Tattva, that he expands himself. And then there's also a marginal potency, which is called the Jivatma. And that's called the Tatastha Shakti, which is the Jivatma, is different than the Supreme Lord, because the Jivatma, which is the energy you and I have, we're a spark of the Supreme, but we have a tendency to be covered by matter. We have a tendency, even though we're spiritual by nature, we have that option of diving into matter and being controlled by the material energy. Whereas Vishnu or Krishna never forgets who he is, and he's never controlled by matter. And it's just like an example is given of a governor can walk into the prison house, he can talk to the prisoners and then leave. But the prisoners don't have that same liberty. They're stuck because of their activities. They're stuck in that little situation, and they can't come in and out of prison on their own sweet will, whereas the governor can. So in the same way, Krishna can appear in this world to interact with all of us prisoners and give us the keys to freedom. And the keys to freedom is basically the desire to love, and to stop material desire and transfer that desire to spiritual activity and spiritual service. There's various types of spiritual disciplines where they say, it's understood that desire is the cause of bondage, which is true. This means karmic activity. So if you stop desire, you'll stop all that bondage, and you'll come to a state of nirvana or a state of equilibrium where you won't be suffering. And that's true to some degree, that stopping desire will stop reaction, but you can't totally stop desire, because it's our desire. We have a desire, an innate constitutional desire to exchange love. So if we're trying to exchange love through a material way, there'll be limitations and frustrations and death. But if the desire is to exchange love on the spiritual platform, seeing everybody as a spiritual being, seeing Krishna as the source of everything, seeing that everything belongs to God, it's meant for his service, and to be caretakers, and to use things properly in a spiritual way, then there's no karma, there's no bondage, and actually there's liberation from that. So it's the desire to stop all desires is still a desire. So that doesn't work. So we have to purify and make our desires spiritual. And by doing that, Krishna will feel the reciprocation with the Lord within the heart, from the Lord within the heart. So, there's so many ways to look at it. There's so many different ways to look at life, and I found this one very humorous but valid, that someone that wrote a whole book how actually the whole Wizard of Oz, the movie The Wizard of Oz, the story of the Wizard of Oz, was actually a spiritual journey. And if you look at it like that, it's actually quite true. That Dorothy was going on this road and thinking that the wizard would solve all of her problems. The wizard turned out to be a phony, but yet he actually told the cowardly lion, the Tin Man was torment, that actually they had heart, they had intelligence, they had a brain, they had all these things, because in the material world, all these things are very relative. You know, what good is a PhD if you are a cold-hearted person, you're selfish, all this material knowledge, it can be used properly, but it can also be misused. Just like science. Science it's neither bad nor good, it's just dependent on how it's used. So if it's used for weapons, if it's used to pollute the environment, what's the use of that kind of science? So anyway, this is kind of an off-the-wall analogy. But at the end, Dorothy comes back and said, and she sees everybody. She says, at the end, I realized I didn't have to go any further than my own backyard. And that's the end of the movie, because everyone's there. So in the same way, we don't have to go searching out. We don't have to go to the Himalayas. We don't have to do this massive search. God is within the heart. And if you recognize that and become conscious of that, then He will guide you. You'll be guided. And not only that, you'll be freed from all the impediments of life. So our karmic wheel is spinning according to, we're getting what we deserve, according to what we did and what we desire. But once we want to break that cycle and understand, okay, I want to go to the eternal platform rather than trying for these notches on the material ladder that, again, will only be temporary. Once you turn your consciousness in that direction, then Krishna says, okay, he says, surrender unto me, I will protect you, I'll relieve you from all reactions, and you don't have anything to fear. Once Srila Prabhupada, a liberated soul, was asked, what's it like to be fully God conscious? And he said, to be completely free from fear. The biggest fear is the fear of death, but when you realize that you're eternal, that the body will change, but you will go on, and that it will actually be ecstatic, then what is there to fear? And so many people have had near-death experiences, they came back, and some of them, I believe some of them are actually genuine, some people may have created whatever, but I think that I've personally known people that have been clinically dead. They said the love and the experience they had when they're out of their body, which is, did not compare. They didn't want to come back. So getting over the fear of death, getting over the fear that you won't have enough, this fear-based mentality is just, it's an animal mentality. It's not human mentality. And somehow or another, we're going to get through all of our tests. I don't know, this is some slogan, I think it was some other thing, but it's valid. If God brings you to it, He can bring you through it. It's something like that. And it may have been on, anyway. But the point is there that everything that we're going through is it's for our benefit. And if we can be grateful for every situation we have in our life and see that it's actually, whatever is happening to us, we aren't victims. We're simply, other people are instruments of the karma that we've created, and instead of blaming everybody else for all of our problems in life, we own it, take responsibility, say, okay, I'm just going to humbly accept this. God, you've got me in the perfect place at all times. If I can just serve you and accept that, you'll find that a very subtle type of liberation happens. When all these things in your heart and mind just dissolve. And Krishna frees you from all that from within. And once that happens and you have a little bit of faith, then you can take another step. Okay, I'm going to take another step. I'm going to go further in. And I think that most people, I've also found that whenever we kind of take a step of faith, you're always caught. It might take time, it might take some experience, but that's the journey. I'm not saying this about myself. I'm saying that Joseph Campbell said it's for everyone. It's the hero's journey. Every hero throughout literature has always faced so many tests and so many obstacles, and they took so many forms. So the journey, the jihad, is to defeat those elements in our own mind that are holding us back. We have to give up our misconceptions. Our misconceptions that bind us to pain and suffering. And these are all self-created demons. So the real liberation, the real fight to become free is within our own hearts and minds. So that's the process of spiritual life. So Lord Brahma, he described when he's had this vision of the spiritual world, he described, very first thing he said was, Ishvara Paramaha Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Nadiraju Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam, which means Krishna, who is known as Govinda, is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He's all attractive. He has an eternal blissful spiritual body. He is the origin of all. He has no other origin other than himself, and he is the supreme cause of all causes. So then we have that. That's Brahma Samhita 32, maybe.
That comes under something different. This should be ES.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Samhita, you might have to.
As far as I don't know where it is.
Do you have a copy of Brahma
Mark, is
Samhita?
this thing open anymore?
Yeah, no, it's in here.
It's wide open.
Copy. Just keep talking. Okay.
So Lord Brahma has many actually described that in 27 verses. He describes the whole material of spiritual creation. It's amazing that he's describes that, as Krishna does in the Gita, that there's different ways. The spiritual path, there's the path of knowledge, of trying to just gain knowledge. There's the path of renunciation. There's the path of activities, trying to perform good karma in order to get good results. So these are all different types of yogas. There's karma yoga, jnana yoga, kriya yoga. It's trying to actually move forward on rungs of the yoga ladder. And some is by study. So there's a very interesting verse that Lord Brahma also says that says Advaitam achyutim anadi manantarupam madhyam purana purusham navayokam chavideshi dhula bhavadurasam api bhakta govindam adi purusham tamaham bhajami. He describes that Krishna is inaccessible through the Vedas. Just in other words, just by studying scripture, God is not going to be completely manifest. It's not an intellectual exercise. He's inaccessible through Vedas, but attainable through pure unalloyed devotion of the soul. So there's another. So in this connection, there's another great verse in Bhagavatam that. Okay.
Give me the box.
Okay.
Would you like to field a question in the meantime?
Sure.
I dig everything you're saying, but how does one connect with Krishna, with God, and know that they're getting God?
All right. Well, it's said that there's 4 ways prescribed in 4 different ages. The previous age, it was by meditation, but people have very long lives, so they can go and just meditate on God in the heart. Then there was sacrifices, where you would take things and actually sacrifice in the fire. That was different yoga. Then there was the temple worship, where you offer things to the deity. In this age, in this Kali Yuga that started 5,000 years ago, the prescribed method is chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. Described that Krishna is actually, his incarnation in this age is in sound, that sound vibration. So in Gita, he says, sacrifices are in japa. So you can chant japa, you can chant on your beads. 108 beads is an auspicious count. Chant the Hare Krishna mantra, and the mantra itself is actually asking for service. It's actually addressing the Lord, that his internal energy, his divine service energy, who's represented as the divine feminine in Radharani, who is the perfect manifestation of the ecstatic serving potency, engages in service Of who? Of Krishna as the all-attractive, and his manifestation of Rama as the source of all spiritual strength and pleasure. So these three words combined in this mantra is called the Great Mantra. And Krishna says, of all the Vedas I am to be known. And how to know Krishna in this age? It's a very good question. The recommended age, the recommended method is to chant. Because the sound vibe, everything is based on sound. It comes from the subtle to the gross level. So even in the Bible, so at the beginning was the word. The word means sound. So one could argue, what if, just by saying words, how is that divine? That's like material words vibrated by a material tongue. But because it's coming from the heart, because you're a spiritual being, and this desire to connect with God is coming directly from the heart, and God has given this. So if you want to do that, chant my name. The name of God is very special. So that saints and sages over many yugas, when they've started chanting, they start to feel the presence of God within their activities. Because you're making that choice. Okay, I want to connect with you. Yoga means to connect. So in this age, the chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. That can be a source of one just, you don't have to do anything special, you just have to hear it. You don't have to do any gymnastics with your mind, you don't have to stretch, you don't have to do it anytime, anywhere, there's no hard and fast rules. And if you do that, if anyone that does that will feel some result. And according to your sincerity, you'll feel that reciprocation. And it may come in different ways, and it may come in very individual ways. And it may come in a way that only you perceive. But it's like, describe like a person is hungry and they eat some food, no one has to tell them that they're full, and they feel nourished.
So it's like responding to a situation by how do you tell if you're connected with God or not? If you're getting the right vibration,
It will be revealed. It's revealed to each person in a very individual way. But if you do the process, because this is given by God Himself, if you practice, then the result just automatically comes. And sometimes the example is given, if you want to taste honey that's in a jar, you can't just lick the outside of the jar. You have to go into the jar, open it up, and make that effort. So it's the same way. If you want to taste the fruit of chanting, it just happens by doing it. And there's another mantra that we chant, that is the Sri Krishna Chaitanya mantra, which is, if you chant that, if you learn just those two mantras, that mantra ensures that you're chanting, there's no offense, because the mind tends to wander when we chant. But Krishna actually appeared 500 years ago as Lord Chaitanya, and he came as it's called the Panchatattva, or the five truths, the embodiment of five truths, which is Lord Nityananda, Advaita, Gadadhar, and Srivas. And so they were Krishna himself in the mood of the devotee, his expansion, his incarnation, his internal energy, and an actual devotee jiva like us. So those five truths manifested in India 500 years ago. And he really he gave that the mantra. This mantra has been chanted throughout the universe for billions of years, but he really focused on and gave this mantra as the main mantra for deliverance of the mind. And when the mind is calm, it's just like a lake. Many traditions use this analogy. If you have a very calm lake, then the stars billions of miles away can be reflected in that lake. You can see them shining on the water of the lake, and the lake is calm. But if the lake is choppy, you don't see any of that reflection. It's all fragmented. So the mind has to be calmed. And when the mind becomes calm, then one can reflect on the deepest truth, which is actually already in your heart. Krishna's expanded there. So you begin to experience that. But the mantra is the way to calm the mind and actually be sitting next to Krishna.
I kind of believe that. I think I believe it because as we see how popular like music is, all the Beatles, all the rock music, all the stars are, they're zillionaires and all that stuff, and because people like the vibration of the sound. And listening to the radio, all those things, it's
absolutely true.
They say everything in the spiritual world is a song. Every verse is every conversation is a song, and every step is a dance.
Yeah, there's a song, every step is a dance. Yeah.
Can we do that? The other chant tonight?
If you wanted the Brahma
The Chaitanya.
Samhita, hold on, I got the Brahma Samhita, I don't know if you want to go back to it.
Okay. Yeah, well, let's just chant that. The one,
Which one was it?
it's actually the beginning. This is the beginning of Chintamani first, but the other, let's see, let's
You
go
said
to,
32, I can go to 32.
okay, and also wanted to, I know we're running short on time here.
It's 32, the Chaitanya mantra, make sure.
Is this the one you were talking about? 32 is right here. Ngari yasya sakamantriya vritti manti yasyanti bhakti padayanti chamantriyanti.
That's a wonderful verse. Let's go to 38.
38. Okay.
So that, yeah, we can chant the Chaitanya mantra and Hare Krishna.
These prayers are sung by the devotees in a very wonderful song that was actually produced by George Harrison. Oops, I think
There's a, I actually tried to introduce the whole concept. You're talking about how music is actually very powerful, even mundane music. Like you listen to some symphonies, like Beethoven, Beethoven's. No, it's basically kind of the mode of goodness, but Ode to Joy. Ode to Joy is like so powerful. You know.
Hallelujah choir. How's it pronounced? Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Because that was the first thing Beethoven put, where it was a chorale, that it was the first time he put song and written words to his music. And this German poet wrote this song about how we're all connected to God, and how it's just unbelievable. Dun, 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 the famous, right? So that, I mean, just gives you, there's one version of that where 10,000 people look on the internet, 10,000 people in Japan sung that in German. And it was like, it'll just, I don't know. It blew me away, you know. And I showed it to one person, he said, I ended up crying on the ground, which is so powerful, that just the unity of that. So that's what to speak of mundane music. And spiritual music has it's a whole different level. So there's a website called Symphony of Spirit that I tried to kind of put that into some type of format to kind of express the same thing. If we're going to chant one verse today, let's chant this one. Prabhupada, our spiritual master, would quote this many, many times, that the perfection of life is actually to know God. And God is not up in the clouds with a beard. He's in our own hearts. He's the source of all knowledge, all happiness. And it's actually possible to see God within your own heart. But the qualification is that your eyes have to become spiritualized and tinged with the soul of love. So all the saints and sages, when their material senses become completely spiritualized and purified, you can actually perceive God in everything, his personal form as well as his energies. You know, you can see the sun. Krishna says, meditate on me as the light of the sun and the moon, of the taste and water. And in so many different ways you can be reminded that God is with us all the time. It's just we have to correct our vision and have it be oozing with love. So this verse just describes that. So you want to chant this for me? Do you want me to chant that? Just we go word by word?
We could do it, yeah. We'll do it word for word, because we don't have the whole Sanskrit thing.
Okay. Premanjana.
The way we do it is he'll say it, we'll repeat. This is not broken down like we used to have it, at least not in this part in the folio. So we're going to work with it like this. We'll go through it word for word.
Are we going to look at the English?
Yeah, we'll look at the English. We'll chant the Sanskrit. We'll go word for word. We'll chant the whole line. Then we'll chant the next one.
There is no word for word purport at this particular place. You're just going to have to kind of flow with it.
You gotta go.
You got to go with it.
We'll chant it. The sound vibration is purifying, even if we don't. But we'll have the translation afterwards. So I'll say one word, and you can repeat if you like. Premanjana, Charita, Bhakti, Vilochanena, Sandha, Sadaiva, Videshu, Vilokayanti, Yam, Shamasundaram, Achintya, Guna, Swarupam, Govindam, Haripurusham, Tamaham, Jami. So I'll chant one line, then you can chant the line after. We'll go to the next one. Premanjanat Strita Bhakti Valochanena. Premanjanat Strita Bhakti Valochanena. Santa Sadeva Hridayeshu Valokayanti. Yam Shama Sundaram Achancha Gunaswarupam. Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajane. So in case you're wondering, every Sanskrit verse is always sung because it's the language of the spiritual world. Like I said, every word is a song, every gate is a dance. So we can chant the whole thing through all together if we want one time, and we'll do the English.
Right.
Premanjana Charita Bhakti Valochayena Santa Sadaiva Hridayeshu Valokayanti Yam Shama Sundaram Achintya Gunaswarupam Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. So this is a verse actually Lord Brahma, the creator of the universe, spoke. And this was discovered in an ancient temple in South India by Lord Chaitanya 500 years ago. So we'll move up to the English.
Sorry. We would have done it. Wow. Okay. I'll let you go here.
Okay, so I'll read it, then we can, I guess, read it together afterwards. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who is Shama Sundar, Krishna himself, with inconceivable, innumerable attributes whom the pure devotees see in their heart of hearts with the eye of devotion tinged with the soul of love. Want to repeat together. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who is Shama Sundar, Krishna himself, with inconceivable, innumerable attributes, whom the pure devotees see in their heart of hearts, with the eye of devotion tinged with the soul of love. So, one part of this verse that's, I mean, everything is amazing, but Krishna has inconceivable, innumerable attributes. So God is actually cannot really be understood with our mind, but we can understand him as much as he chooses to reveal himself to us through the heart, because we understand that even in different traditions that God is omnipotent, omnipotent, omnipresent. He has all power, he's everywhere, he's within everything. And sometimes our teacher would say, that's the difference between God and you and I. God knows everyone's business. We know our own body and our own business, but God knows everyone's business at the same time. So that's kind of inconceivable. How is it? But he's within the heart. If you have mechanics for our dull minds, he's within the heart, so he knows our thoughts and our actions. It's just by it's similar as being close to a flower. You can smell the essence of that flower. So God being within the heart, he can sense all of our thoughts and our desires and our pain and our suffering and everything about us. So this is one of the inconceivable attributes, that he's everywhere at the same time, but yet he still remains a person. So it's inconceivable. So this is a very amazing quality, that God is everywhere. And in a mundane way, you can kind of compare to the sun. This is a whole other class and topic, but we see symbols in the universe. We see like our solar system. So the sun is the sun is the center of the solar system, and we have the different planets going around. And that can be interpreted as that you can look at it, the sun is the soul, and the Mercury is the intellect, and Venus is the beauty and the values and the feminine side, Mars is the masculine, Saturn is the renunciation. So many different things you can analyze it like that and personalize it. But the sun is quite amazing, and also actually it's called Surya Narayan because it's a representative of God, because it has many of the qualities of God. So it seems to be very far away. Well, it is very far away in one sense, but yet in the daytime, the sun is shining on each one of us. So it's very far away, but it's personally affecting us. We all can feel the sunshine on us, even though it's however far away it is. So it seems very remote, yet it's very near as well. Without the sun, life on Earth would vanish in a moment. People say there's no absolute truths, it's all relative, don't talk about absolute truth. Absolute truth is if the sun did not exist, the Earth could not exist. It keeps us in a perfect orbit where the weather patterns stay the same. Without the sunlight, there'd be no vegetation, we're absolutely dependent on the sun. And so some civilizations, out of gratitude, would worship the sun and say, at least realize that there's something bigger than themselves. So that's to be admired. That's a step in spiritual life. that we are not the center of the universe, that everything isn't surrounded by me, and it's not by my effort that everything is happening. Actually, a famous verse in Gita is also Prakriti Kriyamana Guna Karma Sarvashaha, that living entity thinks that I'm doing all these things, that it's actually carried out by nature. That we get a body according to material nature, according to our past activities. That material nature is acting. So some people have a Rolls body, some people have a Mercedes body, some people have a Volkswagen, some people have a cart. So
That's funny.
these bodies are all, we get them according to our activities and our desires. But we're all the same inside. The driver is still the same, but the externals are different. But we are not the doer of these things. Sometimes I think in sports, that someone's paid, millions of dollars if his batting average in baseball is like 350. But nobody bats 1,000. Everyone wants to hit every ball and get on base every time if you're an athlete or whatever. But no one can do it. Why? Most people want to be millionaires. At least a good amount of people, but they don't have the karma. Not that they can't get in the future if that's what they really want, but we're not independent, completely independent. We're dependent on the mercy of the Lord to fulfill all of these actions. And we have to play our part. So the chanting is a way to actually calm the mind, realize that there is a source of happiness beyond just the bodily conception of life, that we aren't Americans, we aren't Hindus, we aren't Jews, we aren't even men or women. We're spiritual beings that have a relationship with God. We're temporarily in bodies according to our desires and our past activities. But those bodies are temporary. They're not false. There's nothing in God's creation that's false. But some things are eternal and some things are temporary. So our assignment, if we listen to the sages and saints of all traditions, is how to reconnect with God as the source of all happiness. And we actually have an activity. So in Bhakti Yoga, it's called devotional service. That we're transferring, we're shifting, we have a paradigm shift. Instead of serving limited goals and masters, we serve the supreme goal, the supreme loving personality of Godhead. And it's a whole other class, but there's ways to serve where it's in neutrality, or as a servant, where you just want to serve. Sometimes you want to serve your children. There's a feeling of happiness when you serve your community. So serving is something for creating yourself gives a certain feeling. What to speak if you do that with God? So it can be neutrality. It's just happy to serve. It's his own reward. You can also serve as a friend. Arjuna was a friend. Krishna was his deepest and best friend. Or as a parent. The service of a child. They say in this world that one of the deepest kinds of love is a mother for the child, because she's doing it selflessly. She's a good mother. Of course, not all mothers are so responsible, but a real loving mother serves no matter what the child does. And is happy to do it. It feels that connection. It feels that unconditional love. No matter what my child does, I'm there for them. So and actually even in one of the rasas also that Lord Brahma saw when he saw the spiritual creation was Krishna as lovers. That a lover will put aside any consideration for his beloved or for her beloved. That sacrifice and that will to please in a loving, deep relationship at the expense of our own personal comfort or whatever, that reward is considered to be, even beyond description. There's all different levels of relationships and all those relationships have activities expressing that love. Just in a mundane way, if a friend or relative came to the house and you just ignored them, how would that person feel? You had no relationship, you just ignore them. It's the same way with God. Or say even the president came, you would say, okay, please sit down, buy some water, can we get something to eat? So we understand that God is a person. He may be expanded everywhere. He's in everyone's heart, but he doesn't need anything from us, but he appreciates if we offer him something with love, he'll say thank you, and he'll give love back. So that's why we offer food. God's not hungry. He doesn't have a material body. But it's a way for us we take it something, and everything in this world is actually meant for that, as an ingredient for sacrifice. Sacrifice is something, it's a Latin word, which means the base of it is to make holy. Sometimes we think sacrifice is going to be painful for us. I have to give up something and somebody else is going to get it and I'm going to suffer. But real sacrifice is making your life holy, taking a fruit from the garden, giving it to Krishna and saying, please take this. I know you're the creator. It's just like a child giving something back to the parent. Without the parent providing for the child couldn't give anything. But if the child does say, even if the parent bought the apple, and the child gives the apple, say, "Would you want it?" The parent feels, "Oh, nice." they appreciate it. So that's the process of bhakti yoga, making our life, sanctifying our life, making a life of sacrifice, really means just making a life holy. Whatever we have in our possession, Krishna says, a fruit, a flower, a water you can offer me, and I'll reciprocate with you. So, anyway, I think it's the time we can have is up, but if we have any questions, the conclusion is that chanting Hare Krishna goes directly to the source of all material and spiritual worlds. Krishna is the source of everything. He's the all-attractive. He has many unlimited names and incarnations. But the name of Krishna is considered to be that original candle from what everything else expands. And as the all-attractive, it's automatically, if we chant, if we do this process of bhakti yoga, of offering things in sacrifice, we'll feel happiness that will spur us on. And it doesn't matter if your friends understand it, your parents understand it, they do, they don't. It's your individual journey. And if you approach Krishna sincerely, he will reciprocate, and you'll become happy in this life and the next life. You'll gain a spiritual body. All the problem, they say, if you have $100, all your $1 problems are solved. So we're trying to solve our little $1 problems individually, but actually our real problem is that we're disconnected from God. We just have to remember that we have that intimate connection, that he's unconditionally there, and he's ready for us to exchange with us. So that's the process of bhakti yoga. That's the essence of all religion. Everything else really might be steps on the ladder, but there's some material motivation along the way that we're still thinking that we have some separate interest that will make us happy aside from God. It's just kind of mixed. Anyway, we invite you to try the process. You can do it in the privacy of your own home. It's free. You don't have to pay anything. It's available. Everyone has a fruit, a flower, a cup of water they can offer Krishna. And just, even if you want to use another name of God, just know that God's in your heart, that he will reciprocate. He's the source of happiness. You'll become more and more happy in this life, and you just have to do the experiment. It's very scientific. Scientific means that if one person does it, it should be repeatable. So the sages and sages have done this for many, many years, and they've all found that this process works. Not all of them shout it from the rooftops, but some of you just realize in the heart that, and some do for the benefit of others, and they get called fanatics. But anyway, other people can do it very quietly and very privately and very satisfactorily. And if you feel that happiness, automatically you're going to want to share it with people that you care about, if they want to hear about it. So that is our humble request, to try the process and study and read and chant and have some sangha. Discuss with your friends. If you have a realization, discuss with your friends that your feelings, that's the way devotees exchange love, is they reveal their mind to each other, and they hear when other people reveal their minds. They give gifts, and they receive gifts, and they give prasadam, and they take prasadam. So now it's almost time to, I think, engage in one of those activities.
Yes, actually, I think. Hey, Brajarani, did you want to do the flower offering now?
Yeah, I was thinking because it's Krishna's birthday, this is also a very special few days. Tomorrow is the birthday of Balaram's appearance day, rather. And it's also a special festival that's happening at the moment in the spiritual world. They swing rather than Krishna, they put them in the swing. We don't have a swing here, but and they offer flowers and swing, and they sing a beautiful song which means Jai Radhe, Jai Krishna. That means Jai Krishna, the Supreme Personality Godhead, and Radhe is his consort. And Jai Vrindavan. Vrindavan is the beautiful place where Krishna came down on earth. It's the spiritual world. And then Sri Govinda, Gopinath, Madan Mohan. That's all of Krishna's names. Govinda means one who gives pleasure. Gopinath is one who gives, who's the lord of the gopis. Gopis are those cowherd dames who loves him the most. So I was going to pass around some flower petals, rose flower petals, and all of us can go and offer some to Krishna because it's his birthday. And then we can sing this song. Maybe Bhojadeva Prabhu, you can just sing. If you can just lead the Kirtan for us, and then we can just Jaya Radhe, Jaya Krishna.
You want to do it, Rajma?
Jaya
Where are the flowers? Where are the flowers?
I'm just giving the tune first.
Okay.
You can only do one thing at a time.
And actually, when we're eating Parsad, I have a few, since you mentioned Vrindavan, I have a few pictures of a temple that we have in Vrindavan. I can show you.
Oh, yeah.
Afterwards.
And also, later this evening, if you get a chance, on the screen here, you'll see photographs from either the Los Angeles Rath Yatra, which was about a week or two ago, almost 10 days ago, and then the one that we just returned from in San Francisco. This is the LA one, where you'll see we have the Shastra Rath, my little traveling Rath cart, in the middle of the kind of like the circle of all of the activities. So I don't know if we're going to be, over the next couple of weeks at least, you'll be seeing these photos. This is the activities of the temples and what the devotees are doing. And I don't want to get too sidetracked by this. We want to do that, and then we want to do the Prasadam prayers, and Bhojadeva will be here. We can ask questions, and then we'll put
Try
in some
not to
kind of
smell
video.
the flowers before it's offered to Krishna. Krishna's going to be the first to smell it.
I already blew that too.
Okay.
You can have another one.
Show 'em ahead of time.
We need to chat more.
I'm just going to sprinkle some herbs on it.
Rajani's going to purify it for you. Okay. I don't know how we're going to do this mechanically. Rajani, you want to? Rajani, you want to show them how you want them to do it, so they're not going to know what to do.
Okay, well, just offer flowers.
But where do they put it afterwards? On the
Yeah.
stand?
Just reach up there and
It
put
would
it
be
on the
nice if
altar.
we-
They'll fall onto
Also,
the floor and stuff.
Sasha was asking you, what does it mean by the word Jai? Jai means all glories. So all glories to Radha, all glories to Krishna, all glories to Krishna, and all glories to his divine consort. So if you want to, the flowers you can just go like that, and usually just circumambulate 4 times around the feet, clockwise, and then we just All right, so
I think she did that well.
sing together.
The idea is to try to put them on the deity's feet.
Yeah, we need the word, please.
Oh, okay. That's a model of a rock cart in San Francisco.
Right.
Little paper model. Okay, what did I do with those words? I just had them.
There's more flowers. Does anybody else want to take more?
Okay, yeah, we'll just clip through this, then we'll say the Prasadam prayer. We have a wonderful feast. Thank you all so very much for coming. As you know, we do this program on the first and third Tuesday of every month. This actually happens to be a 3-week gap. There happens to be 5 Tuesdays in the month of August. So we won't be seeing you again here until 3 weeks from now. And if everything goes wrong, cross our fingers, when you come in, the whole floor will be completely different. We're gonna,
Oh, nice.
the whole new floor.
Krishna's temple room.
We're doing it, so we got 3 weeks to get it all.
Should have done it before for Krishna's appearance day, but we.
We were in San Francisco for Krishna's appearance day.
It'll be ready next.
Okay, so are we all ready to follow that Kirtan song?
Sorry.
Jaya Radhe,
Anyhow, I'll go first.
Jaya Krishna,
Anyway,
Jaya Vrindavan. Joseph. Jaya Radhe, Jaya Krishna, Jaya Vrindavan.
Krishna will never forget that flower you offered him.
We may forget, but Krishna will never ever forget that offering you've done for him eternally. The time of difficulty, the time of death, I remember this soul offered me a flower. Right? He's very, very grateful. Krishna is the embodiment of gratitude. So I was going to just ask everyone for 1 minute, if we can all just go deep, close our eyes, and do a prayer to God, asking Him for some blessings for our spiritual advancement, so that we will come to a place where we feel connected with Him, at peace, in love, with God, and blissful and grounded. Right? So if we can all just take a deep breath, close your eyes, give yourself 1 minute to just do a very special prayer for your spiritual advancement. Thank you. Can you take over now?
Want to take over? I don't know. Okay. So now we get to the fun eating part. We have a wonderful feast. First of all, I'd like to thank a bunch of people. Francisco came over at about 1 o'clock this afternoon and gave us about actually earlier, about
You
11
helped
o'clock.
us with the main bulk of the feast.
He,
Hi, Francisco.
one of the things that I always say is that the feast always is sort of a measurement of how much help we get. Because we get more help, we do a bigger feast. So we have some really nice treats tonight that we really didn't plan on making this morning, but when Francisco came in and said, I got some time, we said, okay, great, we got some more preps. So, thank you very much, Francisco. He's been with us for many, many years. And of course, the whole...
Sarah was here helping us as
Also,
well.